Hello, my lovely listeners, and welcome to What the Pause. My name is Emilia. I am your host, menopause coach, and friend who's hopefully taught you along the way in terms of perimenopause and all the topics I've been covering. This one is very personal to me, and this is about my own journey with perimenopause and marriage and divorce. So I just want to preface it by saying that my husband and I are no longer together. We actually got divorced separated in 2014, divorced in 2016. But a lot of that beforehand came into play in terms of why I made the decisions I made to leave the marriage, why I continued to, although I didn't like him at first, continued to date him, marry him, and then have not one child, but two children. Okay, so here is my real, unedited truth about my time during perimenopause and marriage and divorce. So I met my ex-husband back in 2000. Of course, everything was online at the time. That's how we met. And we dated for about 2.5 years. I didn't like him at all on our first date. I didn't like the way he was not shorter than me, but I couldn't wear my 4-inch heels, let's just say. I didn't like the way that he wanted everything to be Dutch, including the first date, which is fine, but nonetheless, hindsight is 2020, right? And he also had made such a commotion when one of the waitresses passed by and accidentally, I guess, some salad oil flung on his shirt, and he was livid and wanted to have even the manager take care of his dry cleaning bill. I knew right then and there the red flags were going off. But as I mentioned in my previous podcast, that being a 30-year-old Greek woman in that time was frowned upon because I wasn't married and I didn't have any kids. My father thought I was a lesbian, and I have no problem with lesbians. I am LGBTQIA plus, two-spirit friendly, and I have friends who are in that arena. So it was just so interesting in terms of how I got to know him, not during the dating, but after we got married. Now, you have to hear why he became the person he did with a little bit of background. He is of Eastern European heritage, and his parents had him quite older for that time. She was, I believe, 42 or 41, and the father was a little bit younger. Nonetheless, once I met the family, I realized even more so, I am nuts. I am crazy to even entertain these people into my life or even introduce them to my parents. So everybody was crossing their fingers because they wanted to make sure that, we were good and, on the right track of our relationship and getting married. Long story short, his mother put him on a pedestal because he was the quote unquote miracle baby that she was told she could never have. However, my ex does have a brother who's 10 years younger, and they didn't put him on a pedestal. If anything, they chided him for not even going to college or university, that he went from school to a factory. My ex-husband, he has a professional designation and went to university, and his mother wants everybody to say that he's the best thing since sliced bread. And he expected everyone to treat him the same way that his mother did. No wonder this man became a narcissist, even before I was in the picture. Now, thank you to my cousin G, she knows who I'm talking to, for convincing me to go on a second date because I did not want to go on the first one. He said that I had big legs. I'm looking at him going, big legs? Now, I was in top shape. And I was working out, teaching my classes. I taught fitness classes, doing my career. My legs were awesome. Okay. They still are. And because of the muscle that's genetic, I have great legs to this day. So screw you and the horse that you rode on is what I wanted to say to him. But thank you to my cousin G. I played along and I was not 100% into it. But I didn't want to embarrass my parents. I did not want to make a fuss. I just went along with it thinking maybe this is what I needed instead of working all the time and dating losers. Okay, so let's fast forward. All right. When we got married the next day, he turned into a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of scenario. The man I thought I was dating and got married to the next day was cold, arrogant. I don't even think we consummated the marriage at the wedding day, but I just knew that, oh my God, what the hell did I get myself into? Even at the church, guys, I'm telling you, I wanted to be a runaway bride and I almost did it, but I couldn't. I couldn't do that to my parents. Please don't take after me. All right. If you feel it in your gut, leave. My gut was screaming, don't do this. Leave. Okay. So, we're getting married and I'm 33 years old. I turned 34 the following week. And then let's fast forward 5 years later when I have my first child. I didn't like my ex-husband. I still don't. And I never did when I was married to him. But it was basically the motions to get, to have a child because I said to him, either we have 0 children or 2 children. And I had my first daughter. And then 2 years later, I had my second daughter. In that first year with my first daughter, I was 38 and something changed in me overnight. I didn't know what was happening to my body. I thought it was all contributed to having a geriatric pregnancy. Yeah, because I was over 35. My daughter gave me gestational diabetes, but never did I think that I was slowly going into perimenopause. Okay. I didn't even know what was going on with my body. It took a long time for me to get the weight off. My ex-husband was just terrible to me in terms of not supporting me, helping me with my daughter, and even financially being very abusive and emotionally being abusive because for the first time in my life since 14 years old, I was off of work. But I had to take care of this beautiful little girl and she did not have a lot of my attention because I was going through such agony, personal agony myself. And also dealing with my ex who was your textbook narcissist in terms of him being greedy, shallow, selfish. Any money he made was his. Any money I made was his too. It was kind of one of those arrangements. And you're probably thinking, why the hell did you stay, Amelia? You're so bright. And I am. But at that time, my focus was, okay, I've done my career. Let's get into the marriage and let's just grow both. Sorry, it didn't happen. I was wondering why I was seeing a trend in terms of why women in their late 30s and 40s find that their relationships will fall apart during this time. And when we finally reach out for help, as I did with my doctor, we're often handed antidepressants instead of the hormone therapy that we actually need because of the fact that doctors will say, and my doctor said, oh, you're just depressed. Let me give you some antidepressants. Instead of saying, let's get some blood work done in terms of your levels. Now, mind you, because of my pregnancy, and seeing her right after that, maybe 5-6 months later. No, my apologies, folks. It was 9 months later when she told me I had postpartum depression. And I said, no, I don't. I'm pretty sure this is hormonal. But, she's the doctor. So I said, okay, no problem. I didn't think I was ready for perimenopause because I was in my late 30s. So I took the antidepressants instead of the hormonal therapy. Well, that just went from worse to worse ever in terms of my relationship because of the medication making me very lethargic and also not being able to breastfeed my daughter, and because of the stress I was enduring. And he didn't want any part of that. He basically said, you're the mother, you are going to do this. I don't care what you're going through. So he set up that whole stage nicely for me to get out of the marriage. But nope, I stayed because I didn't want my daughter to have no siblings. And guys, I'm being completely honest here. I lived in our guest room for 2 years with my daughter, my second daughter. I did not want anybody taking her away from me when she was born because I had such bad moments with my first daughter. I did not want any of that bad energy to fall into my second daughter. So I was 40 when I had my second daughter, and no problems with the pregnancy at all. So that was really comforting to know. But the relationship I was having with my ex-husband was terminal. It was terrible. It was, even him being in the room made me sick. And it was because of the fact that not now having 2 children and not going back to work for a while, I was not making enough money or any money. And he decided that he would just abuse me financially by not giving me the monies to take care of our girls. Can you believe that, alongside with, putting me down because I'm no longer making the 6 digits that he was expecting me to make when we were married? Sorry, I was on maternity leave, so I barely made a fraction of that. And then he wanted me to also contribute to the household expenses 50%. We've been doing that since day one. But even when I wasn't making any money, he still wanted me to put in the 50%. So maybe I'm thinking to myself, why am I in this marriage? Why am I feeling like absolute garbage? Why is my ex-husband such a nasty bastard to me? But he's so loving to his girls. I was seen as a slave. And my mind and my body was not going to take any more of it. At 44, I decided, and I'm heading into the good part of perimenopause, if there's any good parts of it, but it definitely was the beginning, and deep into the beginning, more than I thought. And I made a decision. I'm not staying in this marriage. I don't even know what's happening to my body or my mind, but I know this. What I feel around him, I do not like. And this is beyond antidepressants, or being depressed. This is beyond HRT. But perimenopause, I think, made me transform, made me think, okay, do I deserve to be treated like this? Is my life going to be like this for the rest of it? Yeah, if I stayed with him, it would have been. It would have been worse. And I knew that I did not want my girls to be in an environment where their parents hated each other. Well, I hated him. I'm not sure what about him to me. Nonetheless, then I'm going through perimenopause. There's no way a narcissist would ever support a woman going through perimenopause. Nor would a narcissist even believe that you're going through it. He will just tell you it's all in your head. He will just tell you that you're just crazy because, you've had a kid. So I'm shaking my head right now, ladies, because as and to my gentlemen listening, thank you. It's something that I want women to understand. If you're going through perimenopause and you are married and you are feeling the way I did, looking back, it's so clear now. And maybe you can resonate with me on this one. I was exhausted all the time. Having the kids back to back at an older age, my lower back ached and I couldn't sleep. Of course, I was going to be emotional and snapping back at my ex. Think about it as equivalent to burning out. I literally thought I was losing my mind. I could not even see who I was in the mirror. And my marriage was already struggling because of his being self-absorbed, dismissive, and everything had to revolve around him. But the more my mind and body changed, the less patience I had for his shit, and pardon my French. What I didn't realize and what my doctor refused to tell me was that my hormones were shifting dramatically. Okay, we've talked about this before. estrogen and progesterone weren't following their usual rhythm. They were falling up and down like a roller coaster without a seatbelt, right? And here I am, I'm not even having periods. So what is going on? And when I did have periods, they were few and far between. But here's what the science tells us, okay? Those hormone changes affect not only your serotonin, but GABA, G-A-B-A, which are the chemicals in our brain that regulate mood, sleep, and anxiety. I found some really great research from the University College of London and the Lancet Psychiatry newsletter. It showed that women in perimenopause are about 40% more likely to experience depression compared to before menopause. So when we say that we don't feel like ourselves, it's not that it's a weakness or anything like that. It's our biology. And I wish to God I had known that back then. But then I'm thinking that, hindsight is 2020, ignorance is bliss, that, okay, I still wouldn't have stayed with him. All right. But what I am seeing with my own family, my friends, is that, especially in this day and age, perimenopause can wreck relationships. The truth is, we know hormones are very powerful. But the environment we're in matters just as much. So being in an unhealthy relationship, perimenopause for me opened up what I call blinding light on every crack that's been hiding under the surface. I used to be a people pleaser. Clearly, right? I got married. I had kids to please everybody but myself. I love my girls with all my being, with all my heart. I do everything for them. And, but when they go to his side, when they go to his father's house, it's not even the same. It's not even reciprocated. But I digress. This is why we get sick of stuff. We don't tolerate bullshit anymore. We don't let things slide anymore because we can't. And for me, that meant realizing I was doing all the emotional labor while my ex offered nothing. No empathy, no understanding. And I hated it when he would call me moody or dramatic. At one time, he called me lazy. And he knows that okay, not to scare me on this call, but I do used to teach combat. And he knows that I can kill him with one punch, but I did not. The kids need their father. But he's also a very big guy, too, in terms of bodybuilding. So I knew I couldn't take him. Luckily, it didn't get physical. He didn't touch me. However, he used to throw stuff at me, chairs, plates, right in front of my daughter. So at first, when he was calling me moody or dramatic, I believed him. But then my body was screaming for support and not judgment. If you hear the little kitty cat, guys, that's my cat. He's outside my door and he wants to come in, but I can't. So I'm going to carry on. But I'm sure that you all have also endured the poor sleep, night sweats, brain fog, no libido. You've got the perfect storm for emotional distance. Did I stop loving him? Yes. Because, we have to manage. But for some women, that's the moment, like me, when we wake up and say, I cannot live like this anymore. And this was what made me exit the marriage. And I also see my other girlfriends who are going through perimenopause. I have friends who are 10 years younger than me going through it. And the first line of action to their doctor is, well, I'm going to give you some antidepressants, not even look about HRT. Some of my friends are single. They haven't even had any kids. And doctors are like, oh, you're not hitting perimenopause. You've had no children. My aunt, guys, was 45 years old and hit full menopause. And she was given that same crap excuse of antidepressants. every time a doctor will say, so when a woman shows up in her 40s crying, anxious, and exhausted, they follow the depression protocol, which is antidepressants. It's what they're trained to do. But that's just treating a symptom, not the cause. Okay? So I left my marriage. I do not regret one bit of it at all. I was in survival mode for 5 years. I used up all my savings. Nobody would hire me at 44 years old with 2 young children, having moved from Toronto to a smaller suburb out west. And it was just so humiliating to me. I felt like a loser. Oh, and my ex-husband did call me that, by the way, a loser, which is fantastic. So, but then, nope, I got out of that survival mode. I got my house. I did my master's degree, and I make a hell of a lot more money than he does. And I'm the one paying child support. So who's the loser now? Now, guys, let's just think about this. I have also another piece of advice for those people going through marriage and then going through a divorce. I have two friends of mine who are going through a divorce and perimenopause at the same time. They are going absolutely crazy. And I've told them, please, ladies, go get your blood work done and get on that HRT first. Bypass the antidepressant. Because I know when I was going through perimenopause and a separation and divorce, I was making some really bad decisions and used lawyers that were only in it for the money, not in it for me or my girls. And I just want to say to you ladies, you have the strength. If you are going through a breakup, you have the strength to go beyond it. You deserve so much better in your lives. I know I do, and I know my girls who do not remember a thing. They can only remember me and their father being together only through pictures because we got divorced when the girls were 2 and turning 5. So I thank God they don't remember anything. But, for those of you going through this, again, please be patient. Please make a plan. Please talk to your support team. Doctors aren't bad people. Okay, let's just say that. It's just because menopause wasn't taught in medical school, right? Even back in 2002, they said that, Women's Health Initiative studies said that HRT was dangerous. Even though that data has been corrected, doctors still hesitate. So we can't fault them for that. That's why you need to advocate for yourself, not only for your lawyers, for your doctors, to your exes or your partner. You're doing this for yourself. Because perimenopause is beautiful. It might be the storm, but it's also the clearing. It's a healing, a rebirth, a finding yourself again. And once I did that, I stopped blaming myself. I could finally heal. Was leaving my marriage painful? No, leaving my girls was painful because I know I'd only see them, 1 week at a time. But I can see that this marriage wasn't helping me. I wanted my freedom. I started therapy. I began learning everything I could about hormones, nutrition, and emotional resilience. And that's what led me here to you and to this podcast. If you're in that fog right now, wondering if you're broken, believe me, you're not. You are transforming. You're learning who you are when you stop dimming yourself to survive. I really do hope that this episode hit home for you. I want you to start tracking your symptoms, even as a voice memo on your phone or a notes app. Track your moods, your patterns. As I said before, talk to your doctor. Could this be perimenopause? And if you're 38, 39, 37, 35 years old and you're getting these symptoms, you are not crazy, and you're going to demand that HRT. And then you're going to demand that your partner support you through this time. Remember, if you were never supported in your relationship, you deserve better now. This is a wake-up call that saves you and not breaks you. It's been so good for me to get this out. I feel so much better, and I hope to tell more of my story to you. But in the meantime, please, if you've ever been dismissed, misdiagnosed, or told to just take a pill, I see you. You're not depressed. You're changing, and you deserve to be supported through it. Contact me on Instagram at whatthepause. You can go to my website at whatthepause.co, and I cannot wait to hear from you. Please make those comments, drop me a line, and subscribe, share this out, and I look forward to seeing you again. In the meantime, be safe, be healthy, and embrace the pause.